Welcome to the Born on This Day ASMR series. Today is February 18th, the day of the complete picture. We are reading again from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Drew Stelfers. This book is a work of personology. A day is a year, is a lifetime, is an age. Personology combines history, psychology, numerology, tarot, and astrology to form a personality guide for each person based on their day of birth. Most people, when they actually read this book, they usually open it up to their birthday or their friend's birthday or family member's birthday. And for me, it's more relevant to look at each day as itself being born, and there's this concept of the grand life cycle where every year, every season, every process is I don't really care. I just like reading each day's story and what each day offers or has to offer. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday. Thank you for joining us and joining me, and happy to have you. The magnetic individuals born on February 18th enliven their surroundings with their ideas and energy. Not ones to get bogged down in details, they stand back in order to see the whole picture, the big view. Rarely they will make important decisions until they have heard every side of the story. Their life is not a haphazard series of events, nor are they overly fatalistic about accepting what comes along. Behind everything they do is an underlying philosophy of life, a basic set of principles for living which they do not betray. Because they are so convinced of these core values, it may be difficult or impossible for them to change greatly. However, because of their sincere desire to know the truth, they are usually open to listening to various points of view, if only to learn from them. Because of their far-reaching views and well-directed ambitions, February 18th people may overlook certain trivial or meaningless details, which in fact have great importance, if not to themselves, then to others. Indeed, some born on this day can get a little out of touch with the facts of everyday existence. They may grow impatient with housework, maintenance of property, or the handling of their financial affairs. Through taking what others may feel is an aloof or superior attitude, they can arouse jealousy or enmity. Although it is true that February 18th people are often self-assured, highly autonomous individuals who need a great deal of time to themselves, they rarely cut themselves off from their fellow human beings or resist calls for help. They are empathic and sympathetic, but only up to a point, however, for they are not willing to sacrifice their time or their ideals to unnecessary demands or claiming attitudes. Most February 18th people have problems with emotional hypersensitivity in childhood, and in extreme cases may be pushed in one of two directions, either withdrawing from the cares and suffering of the world and perfecting their personal vision of how utopia should be, or building a tough steel-like exterior and taking on the world. In either case, they nonetheless move in the direction of maximizing both the scope and influence of their ideas. If February 18th people can remain fixed on long-term goals, but at the same time attend to the daily business of the physical world, they will be successful. If they get sidetracked, however, because of an inability to control their emotions and sensitivities, they will probably flounder and be unhappy. Having the willpower and toughness to see plans through while at the same time preserving their sensitivity is the key to self-realization for them. Seeing things through is particularly what caught my attention. From that, I had been planning this series for a long time in my head and didn't actually take action on it until like the middle of February. So like a whole month and half a month went by, and it felt increasingly more pointless. And even earlier, when I was kind of scoffing about explaining the grand life cycle, it's kind of like I don't want to be repetitive, but I also think each day has something to offer, and so it's balancing that and just kind of getting into the habit of creating and offering something of myself. In their weakness, those born on this day are aloof, isolated, impatient, which are the qualities I just displayed in my dialogue. In their strengths, those born on this day are magnetic, sensitive, and philosophical. Sensitive seems to be a common reoccurring strength in this book, which is interesting because sensitivity in itself also regards weakness as a starting point or growing point. There's a certain awareness in sensitivity that is a precursor to living beyond passion and pursuit of only what empowers you. Like, there is a disempowering quality in everything that you prize. Numbers and planets. Those born on the 18th of the month are ruled by the number 9. 1 plus 8 equals 9, and by the planet Mars. The number 9 is powerful in its influence on other numbers. Any number added to 9 yields that number. 5 plus 9 equals 14, and 4 plus 1 equals 5. Any number multiplied by 9 yields a 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 4 plus 5 equals 9. And February 18th people are similarly able to exert a strong influence on those around them. The effect of Uranus, Aquarius's ruler on Mars, can indicate instability and impulsiveness in those born on this day. The planets. Astrology traditionally speaks of 10 principal heavenly bodies which can be viewed from the Earth. The 2 luminaries, Sun and Moon, 3 inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and 5 outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. All of these, including Sun and Moon, are called planets, and each represents a different facet of the human personality. The names of the planets largely derive from classical Greek and Roman mythology, and their symbolism from the gods and goddesses which they represent. Every planet serves as an astrological indicator as well as a heavenly body. In this book, the rulership of both astrological signs and numbers by planets gives important clues to the personality of those born on each day. Mars is represented by the biological male symbol. Traditionally, the province of the god Mars was war, a quality underlined by the reddish appearance of the planet in the night sky. Originally, Mars ruled the signs Aries and Scorpio, but in the 20th century, the rulership of the latter sign has passed to Pluto. For both men and women, Martian energy is traditionally aggressive, adventuresome, highly motivated to succeed, and in general, unstoppable. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and the number 4. This planet was discovered around the time of the French Revolution, and so symbolizes strongly individualistic and at times rebellious energies. The movements of the planet Uranus are erratic, and the quality of not doing things in a straight line fashion, and releasing spontaneous and impulsive energies are characteristic of Uranian people. The 84-year solar orbit of Uranus is taken in this book to be the ideal lifespan of humans in the Aquarian age. And here's a little mythology on Mars. Aries, Mars, the god of war, son of Zeus and Hera, both of whom detested him. Indeed, he is hateful throughout the Iliad, poem of war though it is. Occasionally the heroes rejoice in the delight of Ares' battle, but far oftener in having escaped the fury of the ruthless god. Homer calls him murderous, bloodstained, the incarnate curse of mortals, and strangely a coward too, who bellows with pain and runs away when he is wounded. Yet he has a train of attendants on the battlefield which should inspire anyone with confidence. His sister is there, Eris, which means discord, and Strife, her son. The goddess of war, Inyo, in Latin Bellona, walks beside him, and with her are terror and trembling and panic. As they move, the voice of groaning arises behind them, and the earth streams with blood. The Romans liked Mars better than the Greeks liked Ares. He never was to them the mean, whining deity of the Iliad, but magnificent in shining armor, redoubtable, invincible. The warriors of the great Latin heroic poem, the Aeneid, far from rejoicing to escape from him, rejoice when they see that they are going to fall on Mars's field of renown. They rush on glorious death, and find it sweet to die in battle. Ares figures little in mythology. In one story, he is the lover of Aphrodite and held up to the contempt of the Olympians by Aphrodite's husband, Hephaestus. But for the most part, he is little more than a symbol of war. He is not a distinct personality like Hermes or Hera or Apollo. He had no cities where he was worshipped. The Greeks said vaguely that he came from Thrace, home of a rude, fierce people in the northeast of Greece. Appropriately, his bird was the vulture. The dog was wronged by being chosen as his animal, which is a reference to dogs of war, I'm guessing. Ares, Mars, is also referenced in the quest of the Golden Fleece. The Argonauts pass the island of the Amazons. Not far from there was the country of the warrior women. The Amazons, the daughters, strangely enough, of that most peace-loving nymph, Sweet Harmony. But their father was Ares, the terrible god of war, whose ways they followed and not their mother's. The heroes would gladly have halted and closed in battle with the Amazons, and it would have not been a battle without bloodshed, for the Amazons were not gentle foes. But the wind was favorable, and they hurried on. They caught a glimpse of the Caucasus as they sped past, and of Prometheus on his rock high above them, and they heard the fanning of the eagle's huge wings as it darted down to its bloody feast on Prometheus's liver. They stopped for nothing, and at the same day at sunset they reached Colchis, the country of the Golden Fleece. Ares, Mars, is also referenced in the story of Otis and Ephialtes. These twin brothers were giants, but they did not look like the monsters of old. They were straight of form and noble of face, tallest of all that the life-giving earth with her bread ever nourished. Handsomest, too, after peerless Orion alone. Virgil speaks chiefly of their mad ambition. He says they were twins, huge-bodied, who strove with their hands to destroy the high heavens, strove to push Jupiter, Zeus, down from his kingdom supernal. They were still very young when they set about proving that they were the gods' superiors. They imprisoned Ares, bound him with chains of brass, and shut him up. The Olympians were reluctant to try to free him by force. They sent the cunning Hermes to his assistance, who contrived stealthily by night to get him out of his prison. Then the two arrogant youths dared still more. They threatened that they would pile Mount Pelion on Mount Ossa and scale the heights of heaven, as the giants of old had piled Ossa on Pelion. This passed the endurance of the immortals, and Zeus got ready his thunderbolt to strike them. But before he hurled it, Poseidon came, begging him to spare them and promising to keep them in order. Zeus agreed, and Poseidon was as good as his word. The twins stopped warring against heaven, and Poseidon felt pleased with himself. But the fact was that the two had turned to other plans which interested them more. Ares, Mars, was also involved in the Trojan War. Diomedes raged on, working havoc in the Trojan ranks until he came face to face with Hector. There, to his dismay, he saw Ares too. The blood-stained, murderous god of war was fighting for Hector. At the sight, Diomedes shuddered and cried to the Greeks to fall back, slowly, however, and with their faces toward the Trojans. Then Hera was angry. She urged her horses to Olympus and asked Zeus if she might drive that bane of men, Ares, from the battlefield. Zeus, who loved him no more than Hera did, even though he was their son, willingly gave her leave. She hastened down to stand beside Diomedes and urge him to smite the terrible god and have no fear. At that, joy filled the hero's heart. He rushed at Ares and hurled his spear at him. Athena drove it home, and it entered Ares' body. The war god bellowed as loud as 10,000 cry in battle. And at the awful sound, trembling seized the whole host, the Greeks and Trojans alike. Ares, really a bully at heart, and unable to bear what he brought upon unnumbered multitudes of men, fled up to Zeus in Olympus and complained bitterly of Athena's violence. But Zeus looked at him sternly and told him he was as intolerable as his mother, and bade him cease his whining. With Ares gone, however, the Trojans were forced to fall back. Tarot. The 18th card of the major arcana is the moon, which primarily represents the world of dreams, emotions, and the unconscious. Positive attributes include sensitivity, empathy, and emotional understanding. Negative qualities include emotional malleability and the lack of ego. Lack of ego may be a controversial negative, considering that there's the popular search for the ego death that more and more people are seeking to experience. I would argue that there is only one death that you experience, and you're lucky to be alive if you experience an ego death, because it means that you almost died. But that's a topic for discussion for another time. The major arcana. Far more significant are the 22 cards known as the major arcana, which cannot be associated with the modern playing card deck. They are, in all probability, a concentrated version of Hermetic philosophy, as later interpreted in the Kabbalah, Alchemy, magic, and astrology. They comprise a psychological study of man in his relationship to the world of the spirit and to the physical world. Their symbolism is a type of shorthand for metaphysics and mysticism. Here are truths so subtle and divine in order that to express them baldly in human language would be a sacrilege. Only esoteric symbolism can reveal to the inner spirit of the seeker. The major arcana are numbered from 0 to 21, each bearing a title which to some degree describes the card. Each card represents a distinct principle, law, power, or element in nature. The designs on the cards also illuminate the life of man, his joys and sorrows, hopes and despairs. They further indicate his search for the wisdom which enables him to control his passions and help in his transit to higher spheres where he enters into things of the spirit. Any book on the occult will be more readily comprehended. Any of these 22 cards of the major arcana can be the foundation for a great deal of meditation and inner enlightenment. In addition to this, be convinced that there is some power present when the cards are read that directs their distribution, an extra physical power now demonstrated as psychokinetic effect. Kinetic effect cooperates with the unconscious muscular activities of the person using the deck and tends to affect the cards as they are shuffled and cut, so that when dealt, they fall into positions that have significance in relation to the subject to the reading. The Fool, card 0, can, in a sense, be compared to the Joker in the modern deck of cards, in that it has no assigned place in the deck, but stands more or less alone. Some writers on the tarot, in order to carry out their own interpretation, place the Fool between the 20th and 21st cards. But there is no concrete evidence that this card belongs in that position, or for that matter, as the first card of the major arcana. Rather, this is a separate card, a third part of the deck, the sum total of all. The Fool, card 0, is the sum total of all. The keys. The moon. A dog and a wolf are seen baying at the moon. The pool in the foreground is the same as that shown in keys number 14 and number 17, respectively the keys of temperance and the star. It is the great deep of mind stuff out of which emerges physical manifestation. The shellfish symbolizes the early stages of conscious unfoldment. The wolf is nature's untamed creation, while the dog is a product of adaptation to life with man. The path ascends ever upward between the towers. The upward progress of man is here symbolized. The moon signifies the reflected light of subconsciousness. The falling drops of dew, yachts, represent the descent of the life force from above into material existence. Divinatory meaning: imagination, intuition, dreams. May mean bad luck to one you love, unforeseen perils, deception, secret foes. Reversed, storms will be weathered, peace gained at a cost, imagination will be harnessed by practical considerations. Tarot cards have been used for centuries to predict the future, shed light on the past, and reveal the mysterious patterns of character and destiny. Winter. Zodiac position is 0 degree Capricorn to 0 degree Aries in the constellations. It represents the fourth quadrant of the grand life cycle, which, even though I was being sarcastic earlier, we will dive into what the grand life cycle is. This is the fourth and last quadrant of that. The cusp, or it's the equivalent human age of ages 63 to ages 84. Cusp concepts of winter are prophecy, mystery, and imagination, and sensitivity. The signs are Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, whose rulers are Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Symbols of the goat, the water bearer, the fish. Elements of winter are earth, air, and water. Mottos of winter are I master, I universalize, I believe. The dominant faculty of winter is thought. The winter solstice usually occurs on December 21st in the northern hemisphere. This date marks the beginning of winter in the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter begins around June 21st. At this time of stillness, nights are longer and days are shorter than at any other time of the year. As winter advances through the bitter days and on to the hint of spring, the nights grow shorter and the days longer. Winter is the fourth and last quarter, or 90-degree segment of the yearly cycle, which I said earlier. This season extends from the winter solstice to the spring equinox. Winter is traditionally the period at which water in ponds freeze and rivers freeze, snow falls, the sounds of nature are muted, and the land lies sleeping under a wet blanket. Trees stretch their bare arms into a gray sky, only lit a few hours a day by a low rising sun. Although much of nature seems dead, this is only a surface view. Deep within the earth, powerful forces are engaged in a metamorphosis, the results of which will be evident to the eye in spring. Nothing really dies, but is transformed into another state. There is a feeling of waiting and of expectation. Life has moved inside and underground. Warmth is sought in caves and in houses from bitter howling winds. Fire keeps humans warm, and foods that have been stored for winter are eaten by both people and animals. Winter comprises 3 astrological signs: the cardinal earth sign, Capricorn, the fixed air sign, Aquarius, which is where we are now, and the mutable water sign, Pisces. These 3 signs can be likened in human terms to the life of the individual aged 63 to 84. This spiritual period of development from middle age to death evidences many of the same aspects of stillness, interiorization of experience, and a quieting of instinctual demands that characterize nature's winter. This fourth quadrant of the grand life cycle is governed by the faculty of thought and can be seen as a waxing period which manifests subjectively and as conscious orientation. Although subjective, underground interior activity has completely replaced outward growth, and in both nature and the human being, objective changes are on the way. In the case of humans, consciousness may have become less concerned with the externals and more with the worlds of thought, religion, philosophy, spirituality, and other universal concerns. Astrologically, this is related to the fact that the signs Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are ruled by the heavenly bodies of Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, which are all heavy, outer planets. These bodies are big and far from the Earth, taking approximately 28, 84, and 165 years, respectively, to make their way around the zodiac. So it takes us 1 year, it takes Saturn 28, it takes us 1 year, it takes Uranus 84, it takes us 1 year, it takes Neptune 165 years. The outlook of the adult is at this time more universal. Such concerns as competing in the marketplace, raising a family, reproducing, building powerful exterior, and striving to make a mark in the world of society are generally diminishing or even completely absent now. The elder must prepare psychologically but the coming of the end of a life cycle. Generally speaking, wintertime people are more concerned with the larger picture. They can be dominant types who rule their space with assurance, but often also display a greater degree of flexibility, sensitivity, and acceptance and spirituality than those born at other times of the year. Although those born in winter are often quiet types, many manifest great excitement through their thoughts, ideals, and work. They are particularly distinguished by an active imagination and fantasy life. The most successful of wintertime people can objectify these visions and perhaps make them a source of creativity rather than be victimized by them. The allegiance of wintertime people is not so much to society or to personal considerations as to the world of ideas. Wintertime people are less concerned with the state of the world as it is now and more with how it could be and how it should be. A real reforming spirit can show itself in this personality, and an interest in matters concerning political and economic justice is very common. Health. Those born on February 18th are prone to neglect everyday concerns because their thoughts are busy elsewhere. Consequently, having regular dental and medical checkups scheduled is crucial to their health. In fact, bringing structure to all areas of their lives from diet to exercise is key. The food habits of those born on this day may tend to be rather odd or irregular. Learning to cook or even developing advanced culinary skills is recommended. Cooking for family and friends can also be helpful in bringing out their nurturing side. As far as exercise is concerned, moderate daily workouts are preferable, perhaps in the form of long walks, bicycling, or swimming. Advice. Follow your dreams, but tend to everyday matters as well. Don't forget your friends or cut yourself off from the world. Loneliness and negativity can be combated, often by being more open and accepting. Particularly in this process of starting to make YouTube videos, I've recognized both qualities in myself and I question it, where am I just keeping myself in a room forever and this channel is just going to be a way to showcase my doom, or am I actually going to be able to step up and accept the ideas that I have to offer? So it's the challenge, it's the quest towards that, and each of us has that. Meditation. The tiny details are the most difficult to master. Thanks for watching. This is the end of this episode. Today is the day of the complete picture. Objectively, what is your complete picture? And how are you celebrating today? Thank you for watching. Appreciate you. And I will see you again tomorrow.